Yo, I am impressed. I am very, very impressed with this car right here. This is the Tesla Model 3, the 2024 refresh. A lot of people are calling it Highland. That's not actually in the name, but this car, I've only been testing it for maybe a week now, but I've noticed a lot of little things different. The main way you're going to be able to tell this car different from the already very popular Model 3 that's out is the new distinctive angular headlights, the new point to your face. But there's a lot more that's new to this car that sort of add up to me to feel like honestly a worthy flagship. I know the Model S is, higher end and it has the plaid variant and all the performance and all that fun stuff, but this is the car that people are going to know and see the most often as a Tesla. It's the Model 3 and the Model Y. So you could argue this is their most important car, and it kind of feels now like a mini Model S. So let's look at everything that's new. So first of all, like I said, aesthetics are actually one of the big things. So when you see these new sleek, slim headlights, that's how you know you're looking at the new Model 3. But also, this is actually a new paint, ultra red. And I kind of feel like the Canon R5 is getting the color. I can actually appreciate it. There's also a new stealth gray color, but I like the ultra red. And just right off the bat, it's a little bit of a further down slope on the nose, and it's always been a really simple car, but you can actually tell now it's a little bit more aerodynamic, which is going to give you a little bit better range. I've been driving this car for a couple days, averaging well under 300 watt hours per mile, and at a full state of charge, 330 miles of range in the cold, this weather. Now it's Tesla's 330 miles of range, so you're probably going to get more like 290, 285, something like that, but still, the fact that it's getting the same range as what my Plaid was getting is pretty impressive. So officially the new drag coefficient is 0.219, and that's mostly going to come from the front of the car and the places that are hitting the most air. From the side, it's still going to look just like a normal Model 3. Maybe you can tell that little front shape is slightly different with a slightly lower nose, but slightly updated wheels too. I'm really liking this ultra red color. But yeah, it looks like a Model 3 from the side until you get to the back, which is where you'll see the new taillights, and they are also pretty distinctive and angular, and I think pretty nice. Here's a maybe hot take: the no Tesla logo. It just says Tesla in text now on the back, and at first I didn't really love that, but I've started to get used to it. So the only Tesla logo is actually on the front hood, and if I want to open it up, that powered liftgate is the same as it's always been, and you've got a pretty decent sized trunk. But now you'll notice that those taillights are one piece. So if I close this again, you'll see that entire taillight is uninterrupted on the back trunk piece, so it doesn't have any gaps at night. You just see one continuous light, and I like that. And then you see dual motor. This is not a performance trim. This is just a standard Model 3 for right now, and that's the back. But most of the things that are new with this car, again, are very subtle things, and a lot of them are on the inside in quality, in materials, and in making it feel and drive like a much more comfortable, it's just better. Just quality all around is higher. So I'm going to start with the door, because that's actually the first thing you'll notice. So the handle's the same and the way you get in is the same, but if you've seen German cars, you might have seen this little notch before, and this little part here that plugs into the door. In general, there's a better seal to the entire door all the way around the cabin, and that makes this a much quieter car when driving and even when getting inside. I'll close the door behind me. You probably can't tell, but it's pretty quiet. And so in general, this really still feels very recognizably just like previous Model 3s, but everywhere you look, there's lots of little things in the direction of premium, in the direction of comfortable, and in the direction of luxury a little bit, not so much sporty. And we'll talk about what I think might work for a performance Model 3 version of this maybe a little later, but let's look around. So first of all, this is the new steering wheel. This, I think, is the only thing that anyone may have complaints about because, as you can probably notice right away, there's no more stalks. So the Model 3 always had the stalks while the Model S and X didn't. Now, there's no more blinker stalks and there's no driver stalks. So if you want to switch to drive, you put your foot on the brake and swipe forward or backward, just like the Model S. Or, fun fact actually, there's your Perndle up here. If you really, I don't think most people are going to use that, but in case of the screen not being on, that's how you change gears. But then the rest of the steering wheel is your buttons on the steering wheel. So here on the right-hand side, that's going to be your windshield wipers, which you can also switch to automatic, your voice dictation, and then this will turn on autopilot, and if you want to turn up or down, that's going to be the distance between you and the car in front of you while in autopilot. Then on the left, that's your blinkers. Left or right blinkers are on the steering wheel in Model 3 now, and your high beams, and of course your media and volume. But that does mean the middle is a regular horn, not a button on the steering wheel, and it is a pretty close to circular wheel, so there are some things that people are going to like, and there are some things that people are definitely going to have to get used to, like the no stocks. But again, this is in the theme, it feels like to me, of Mini Model S. So then everywhere else you look, improved materials and build quality. I like this Alcantara, it's nice and soft. You've got all the same switches you normally do, and the door to get in and out. Up here, it's just your air vents, but it's kind of like this fabric here. It's a pretty unique look. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of cars have your screen back here, so this is just a very obvious, plain open space, but I kind of like this sort of a gray fabric. And then all the way around the car, which you'll notice especially when you're driving, is this LED lighting. So this light strip goes all the way around, up at the front, all the way around the side of the car. And yes, you can change the look of it just by dragging around and changing the color of the LEDs. There's purple, there's red, yellow. It looks pretty good at night just because it's, again, pretty continuous all around the car. And then, of course, here is the main center console. This screen has a faster computer, and it is way more responsive. Like, all of the software and everything that you do in this car is just as fast as ever, and often even faster than I remember, which is awesome. And that's always good to see because Tesla's literally been the best software in any car that's not CarPlay or Android Auto for years now. Also, you may have noticed I've got this this new view of the parking spot I'm in, which if I pull forward a little bit, you'll notice zooms out. That is the new high fidelity park assist. It's not a 360 camera, but it's pretty close. It gives you sort of this heat map of the things that are around you. You can see the parking lines in the parking lot you're in, and then you'll see this little heat thing based on how close you are to the thing behind you. So I'm right against the curb now, so that's why it's red. It's decent. I mean, that's all improved with Tesla Model 3. These are also now softer, better seats in the front. They are heated and ventilated, and the back seats are also heated. But I'm going to show you something else in the back seat now that you might like even more. So this is the back seat of the Model 3. It's about the same amount of space as before, so if I'm getting behind a 6'3" driver's position, it's not a ton of space, but the floor is flat through the middle. But look at that. A nice, flush touchscreen with actually some pretty thin bezels right on the back to control all of the airflow and the HVAC stuff, and even a little bit of media if you want to on the back of this car. This is a way better backseat experience. Honestly, this makes such a huge difference as a backseat passenger in this car. I've been in the back of a lot of Model 3s that have been Ubers and things like that. You still have also this LED lighting back here. Again, I like that these back seats are heated if you want them to be. And then the glass over your head with plenty of headroom. It's not quite the uninterrupted glass from the Model S and X, but it's what we're used to from Model 3 and Y, which is still a whole lot of glass. Let me get back up to the driver's seat because there are a couple things too that are upgraded significantly just when driving this car. Model 3 has always been an easy car to drive. I think it's very simple. I know there's no stocks now, but in general, as far as electric cars, this might be the easiest one to calibrate to, one pedal driving wise, charging network wise, just in general. But two things. One is acoustically, it is so much quieter in here when you're driving, which is awesome. And then it's a softer suspension, noticeably softer. This comes at the expense of maybe a bit of a sporty feeling. I honestly think the old Model 3 and Y's coil suspension was a little harsh, a little firm sometimes, and I think a lot of owners would agree with that. And this has made really big strides to be way more comfortable to drive. And it also has a notably tighter steering radius. That wasn't really advertised at all, but that's really cool to see. And then there's also a much improved speaker system. So the speakers in this car, just driving around in this quiet cabin, listening to the better speakers, is way, way better than previously. This really feels like a mini Model S. But still, if you're a Model 3 fan, you're going to have some of the hits that you've always been used to. The wireless chargers up here, the key fob card, and then this is the center console storage, which is a big center console spot. And this one doesn't move like Model S, but there's your 2 cup holders that you can always close just like that. And like that. So you still got the front trunk space you're used to, still got the rear trunk space you're used to. And honestly, even the camera quality, these cameras, when you look at the camera feed from the car, looks much better. I can actually see raindrops much more higher fidelity when I'm driving this car, and the blinkers come on. This is good, man. This is a good car. So, I think the general question you might be wondering is, should you get this car? And the only thing I would say is if you're considering something like a performance version of this, consider what you want to do most of the time when driving. I think when street driving, this thing is great. Most of the time with street driving, this thing is great. And it's quick. It's really quick. I'll try to find an official 0 to 60 time or some horsepower numbers if I can. But for a car with this much range and with a great charging network, like this is a very quick EV. A performance version for me would really only gain maybe 2 things. Obviously the ability to have track mode and be able to dial, you know, your traction control to be front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, or change the slip, or have a little bit more fun while driving. And then maybe getting back to a firmer suspension for that sort of track oriented driving. But for the non-performance version, which this is, it's complete. It's great. It's a flagship. It's a mini Model S. It's refined. It's well built. I'm very impressed by this new Model 3. Let me know what you think. Is this a car that you've been looking forward to? I've been looking forward to seeing it in the US for so long. It was like Europe first and then slowly making its way here. Now it's here, and I'm happy I got to test it because this thing's good, man. This is the car I would recommend so easily to anyone just looking for a first EV. That's where I'll leave it. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.